Oh, hi guys. I'm just on the Wiseguys public group page where we get to talk trash, have all kind of memes, and have tournaments where we get to see all kinds of prizes being passed out. Appreciate you guys tuning in. You're here for a Paleo deck profile, but make sure you go to the Facebook page, the Wise Guys public group page, and make sure you join in on all the action. We got tournaments, free stuff, free tournaments. We got paid out tournaments. We got throw some money in and get bomb ass prizes for tournaments. We got all kind of stuff, man. Without further ado, let's get into this deck profile. Alrighty, guys. Get into this young deck profile. So just my thought process behind that before I jump into it. My thought process is this. I really like MARINCESS. I kind of like Paleo. I've grown to really like it over a little while of play testing it. However, the issue with the deck for me is that you can't play MARINCESS frogs right now. You can in the future, but you can't combine Paleo and Swap Frog and MARINCESS cards and do well at a high tier event. It's just not gonna happen. Paleo, however, itself right now can do something, and MARINCESS in the future will be able to do something post Chaos Impact. But for right now, it's just not worth it to go through all the hurdles and the hula hoops that you got to go through just to even be able to play the deck. Without further ado, just gonna jump straight into it. I also have some flex spots, so just bear with me on that. We got three Swap Frog, obviously, three Dupe, obviously, and then two Ronin Tonin, obviously. There's nothing about the ratio I think you can change. I really feel like that's kind of moot anytime you see one of these deck profiles, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Then for the spells, so again, I'm not playing any MARINCESS except for something you'll see later. I'm playing 3 Desires. Now, the Desires for me, in my personal opinion, I feel like I always want to draw 2 extra traps because the strength of this deck is to trap somebody to death. And you cannot do that unless you can get to the point rather quickly. And again, that was my conflict when I'm playing MARINCESS is I just want to play pure MARINCESS or I want to play the frogs with MARINCESS in the future. I can't play the Paleos and all that stuff. All the Paleos are just flat out better than just playing a mashup engine right now. Just gonna leave it at that. Now, into the Paleo stuff, this is where the deck shines, is the trap cards, and a lot of people hate trap cards, and this is a back row deck, so bear with me. Got 3 Morelia. This card is very underrated. People think it's trash. It's not trash. It actually sets up a lot. It sets up Lost Wind. It can set up a whole lot of stuff, and then it's obviously can get your game going, get your engine rolling. And this deck's capability to roll and snowball is very powerful, but you have to get it going, and this card is very important to that. So I feel like if you're not playing 2 or 3, then I don't think you really understand the deck, but that's just my opinion. Oleanoides, the one that's not super, the MST, it's the Dust Tornado, the MST. It's a good card, man. It just comes up all the time. Being able to pop a spell or trap, I mean, you know, it is what it is. You know, there's nothing you can really say about that. This is the weird one, just because with Striker being so powerful, being able to book a moon cards doesn't really mean anything. It does mean something against other decks, but at the same time, you know, is that phenomenal? I don't really know. However, I will say you can get off, you know, whooping Salamangreat and a lot of the other decks by flipping stuff face down. Pendulum can also get hurt by this as well. So, I mean, this card is just dead in certain matchups and amazing in other matchups. But, I mean, a Book of Moon is a Book of Moon. And then last, you got the popular one that I think is a generically good card is Deinonychus. Sorry, they're not all super, but banishing stuff is just, it's too free, you know, and being able to just completely wipe something out of we're having to worry about it is a really powerful one, so I think it's the best one. Getting into the traps, 3 trap tricks. These are German. With the trap tricks, like I said, you want to get that engine rolling, and this card gets the engine rolling. A lot of people always try to, you know, say, oh, you know, you don't absolutely have to play trap tricks, but I feel like in this deck, I think you'd be a fool to not play it. You can play more of a solemn package or more floodgates, but I feel like why would I do that when I can just roll and keep rolling with traps, you know? If the deck is built around traps, then why not trap somebody to death? Now, this is where I kind of have a flex spot, and I always do that in deck profiles, is I tell people about flex spots. Impermanence is really, really strong, and it helps you go in second, but there's also other hand traps that can help you go second. Personally, I think Phantasme can also be right here. If you can't afford them, then that is what it is. But Impermanence is really, really strong, and it's a trap. So, you know, you can keep things going like that. With my discrepancy with the deck is I feel like you need a body on the board, and even in the Paleozoic group, I think there's a lot of awesome duelists in there. And I see a lot of people playing Phantasme, and I actually think that's more correct than playing Impermanence, which sounds absolutely insane because this is a trap deck. Why would you not have an extraordinarily powerful trap like Impermanence? But you need bodies on the board, and I feel like bodies on the board is the most important thing that you can get besides the trap cards. So is this super duper needed? I don't know. That's up to you to decide. It's just kind of my theory. I would flex this with either another hand trap that you feel like is powerful or a body on the board, whether that's a inspector border, whether that's, you know, anything that can greatly affect a game. I feel like you may want to think about that. Phantasm may probably be the #1 choice over these, which is crazy. And then 3 Lost Wind. Lost Wind is nuts. You don't really understand how good this card is until it starts doubling back onto the field and then just wrecking your opponent. People, you know, the card is underrated. People don't understand quite how good it is. I understand how good it is after playing it for about 3 or 4 tournaments in a row. The deck is really good, and Lost Wind is really good. And Storm Dusters. Storm Duster, again, being able to handle back row, especially when you play against another back row deck, having Oleanoides and this, being able to wipe out your opponent's back row, really good, man. Just really good. You know, being able to knock off multi-rolls and so on and so forth with that, I really feel like these cards are really, really good. Just be careful about your battle phase because people forget about that clause on the card. But, you know, if you're playing it correctly, you don't have to worry about that. And then some random traps, kind of got a 2-1-1-1-1. What I did here is kind of built it my way, but I also feel like these can be changed. I really feel like Solemn Strike is the mandatory one, just because Solemn Strike is Solemn Strike. You know, there's no way around it. The winning percentage of this card alone is too high to not at least play 2, but I don't want to keep drawing them, so I have it at 3. Playing 2 Crackdowns. Crackdown, just because I play Avermax, and it really sets this up a lot. And I'm also playing another card that I'll also get into, which helps make this card even better, and it's in my extra deck. So, you know, it's just my opinion. I really feel like this card is insane. This is where I don't really like the card because I don't really like floodgates myself, but I was trying to find something to play, and I feel like it can either be, I could play another strike and this could be like Judgment, and then I could play like more Solemns, but I don't know. I feel like you can catch somebody with this. This is a going second trap card, and it's just really good. So my opinion is this can be a flex spot. You can experiment with this one, but I feel really strong about it. And in Imperial Order, I feel like Sky Striker is so good that why would you not have a win button in your deck? I mean, that's just kind of commonplace with Pendulum and Striker running around, and, you know, a few other decks. I feel like this is a good card to have. You know, it's the original floodgate of all floodgates besides Genzo, so, you know, why not play Imperial? Getting the extra, play 3 Toad. I have 1 on loan, so, you know, just bear with me on that. Play 3 Toad. Even when MARINCESS becomes full power, I still feel like you may want to play 2 or 3, but that'll be your discretion. Bore load. I really feel like you got to have multiple Link 4s. I'm not playing Bomber Dragon in this build, but I really like Bomber Dragon because the traps are unaffected. A lot of people don't know that. The Paleo traps are unaffected by monster effects, so you can keep summoning the Bomber Dragon and keep Regecking your opponent. If, you know, you get a avalanche effect going, you can keep it going and going and going. a new card, Coral Anemone. This is the MARINCESS card that I'm playing because it's generically good for water decks. Being able to pitch with swap and then dump it into the grave and then put it in the grave, link into her, and then use her to bring it back. You have to be careful because if she gets veilered and cut off, then you kind of just dumped a swap frog in a graveyard for no reason. But it can help you plus and put another body on the board almost for free. And she's generically good, and she's only going to get better because I'm telling you, MARINCESS is insanely good. People don't think it is. I beg to differ, and I can't wait for people to find out. Mannequin Cat. Yes, I'm playing Mannequin Cat. There actually is some relevance, and it comes up in a striker matchup where a lot of times your opponent will have a dead link in the graveyard or something like that, and that's where I said I use Crackdown to be able to steal my opponent's card. So what happens is I'll summon this card. I've done it at least 3 or 4 times, a couple times at locals, a couple times online, but you summon it, you put something from the graveyard onto their side of the field, which turns off striker's back row, which is interesting. Most of the time you're gonna kind of hold this, don't drop this immediately, or at least be able to negate it with Toad some kind of way, but get it on the field, then take their link or something that you can link off or make into a boar load or something. Just being able to make big material is what I'm getting at. But the most important thing is you target Shizuku on your opponent's side of the field. So not only do you lock your opponent out of something, but you can special summon a swap frog by targeting the Shizuku just because of the attribute type thing. And this card, while a lot of people have only seen the Trish thing going on, I feel like this card is really, really good and it's underrated. I'm not going to say it's insane as a Trish loop, but it's a good card. I feel like it's a generically good card. Ignore this. This is kind of like the third Toad, but it can be, decent. Crumble logos, I make this card sometimes, not really super relevant. The Paleos, this should actually be 2 the other way and 1, because you're never going to really make 3 level 2s. But this card, if you excavate, and it's a Akashic Magician type effect, it's really, really good. And then this card helps you snowball people. So I probably play 2 of these and 1 of these. So ignore that, kind of. Then 2 Star Boys, just because being able to recur stuff back and being able to push for damage is really, really important. I actually do have the other Opabenia. And then I have Boral Sword and Avermax. So with these 2, Avermax, I make this a lot. Boral Sword, I usually, when you make Boral Sword, the game is over. But I like making this and then kind of leaving it there. And I've made it with multiple Star Boys or other things, like take something away with Crackdown and use my Star Boy and then make him, which I can do pretty quickly. And then I usually have like swaps and Ronin Tonins to keep going. So it's interesting. I'm not the best Paleo player in the world. I just enjoy playing the deck and learning new decks, and I picked this up a couple weeks ago and I've been playing it a lot and I enjoy it. Triple Evenly for the side deck. Anti-spell, again, there's flex spots. I feel like you can play cards like Inspector Border on your side, cards like maybe Judgment, Howling, White Howling, really, really powerful card, but it's just kind of strange in this deck. Wiretap as well. I could keep going on and on with that, but I really like Anti-Spell. Pankratops, Lancia. This is all kind of stuff that you can just play according to what your meta is and your locals. This is subjective. You could swipe all this out and play something, but whatever it is, I feel like there's certain cards that you have to play. I would highly recommend Waking the Dragon, but I feel like only bad players walk into it, and that's kind of my issue with it. The rest of these, they're just kind of meh. You can mess around with it. Anti-spell gets off for me a lot, so that's why I play it. And also, I like Pendulum so much that I respect it, and I kind of like having an auto win with that. This is the deck profile. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We have more deck profiles coming. If you have a deck profile that you want to see, please leave it down in the comments below. Make sure you share this, look at all our deck profiles on the page, look at all our discussions on the page. We talk about a lot of different stuff, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Signing out. YG, baby.